In this video, we're going to talk about one of the biggest security risks that many companies face right now. So stop, do not paste that information into any AI until you've watched this video. We'll look at some of the practical steps companies are taking to ensure that they remain compliant and don't breach all of the compliance rules within the countries they operate. So things like GDPR, those were instituted for a reason, for privacy and for to ensure compliance. Now, the cost to making these mistakes can be enormous, and in this video, we'd look at some examples and practical steps you can take. So, the biggest AI risk may already exist within your organization. What does that mean? 43%. According to an IBM survey, 43% have had incidents of staff using shadow AI. Now, your question should be, what is shadow AI? Shadow AI is essentially any AI that hasn't been approved by the organization. So if you work within a company and they insist on you using the Azure OpenAI implementation of ChatGPT or their secure chat, but then you take information and then paste it into ChatGPT, in that instance, ChatGPT can be considered shadow AI. Worse still, you're creating an image or you're trying to create a summary of a document or even generate a new document and you copy it and paste it into Perplexity or copy it into some other tool. What's that one? Jasper AI. All those can be considered shadow AI. And it's even worse now with a lot of MCPs. There's something called MCP, that's Model Context Protocol. So these Model Context Protocols essentially help AIs to talk to other applications on the internet. So downloading those software and applying them can lead to breaches and expose your company. So those are shadow AIs. So copying and pasting is the security blind spot. So many organizations would prevent you from exporting documents or emailing documents to your private email account. But a lot of them don't really control your clipboard. So you can copy text and paste it into some other window. And sometimes that's what you need to do in order to get the productivity gains that you're looking for as an employee. But if the company does not approve it, then you're putting yourself at risk and putting the company's data at risk. So 77% of users paste data into Gen AI tools. So generative AI tools are tools that generate text and generate information. So 77% of people do it. It doesn't mean that it's inherently risky, but it can be depending on the tool you've put it in. And if your organization has a policy where you shouldn't put things into random tools, then you're exposing your organization, exposing yourself. So, and some of these tools have unmanaged accounts, so you don't actually know who's pasting that information. All you know is that information has gone into this tool, and we don't know what that tool is using it for. So those are things you need to be thinking about. And as a business owner, you want to make sure that you make things easy for the staff, make the usable tools or the approved tools easy to apply as part of their workflows rather than some external AI utility. And people copy their corporate text into their personal text. And another surface that makes this even easy to do is your mobile phone. Now you've got your personal mobile with Teams on your personal mobile, and it's so easy to copy stuff from Teams and paste it into your personal chat GPT. So those are areas where people make mistakes or people can expose your organization. So the rule most businesses are missing isn't, is my AI safe? The question you should be asking for is, the tools you're using, are they approved? Because whether you like it or not, people who are serious about their businesses and about their work are already using AI. They can see the improvements and the gains they make just by applying some AI assistance to their work. So they are using it, whether you know it or not. So your question should now go from, is AI safe, to what tools can actually help my organization and what tools should we approve? And you should go through that process of determining which tools can help your organization, help your workflows, help your staff, and what tools would actually get you the benefits and the gains you want. Other questions you want to ask are, what happens to the prompts that you send? How long is the data retained in the tool you've pasted the text into? Who can access the account? Is data used for training? And does AI need the real information? And if it doesn't need real information, that's where you need to anonymize things. So things that you need to make sure your staff know, and they should know this by just by common sense. But again, some people have different standards. So make sure that passwords are not shared in any AI tool, because again, when it's a random tool, you don't know who's behind it. Make sure authentication tokens, recovery codes, encryption keys, data, live data credentials, those are not put into any AI tool. So if you need to put in some information to that represents a code or a password, just redact it, remove that section and just put something random there. Just anonymize it. Go through the extra step of doing that. That's what will protect your data. Um, protect people's information. So the fact that it's AI doesn't protect you from any breaches and from falling foul of the law. GDPR still exists, and it will cost you 4% of your annual revenue. So it is quite serious. So high risk data should never be uploaded into any AI, into any AI tool. PII still exists even in the world of AI. So protect the business advantage. So this applies to where you've got trade secrets, things that are unique to you, things that you've created that you use to set yourself apart from other organizations. Those should never go into any AI. There's no reason for that to go in unless you've got your own personal AI or you've got contracts signed with the likes of Azure or AWS where they ring fence your AI estate, and it doesn't. The data is not used to train other AIs. You might look at that, but if it's public, then you are taking a risk. And the other thing to bear in mind is sometimes when you register for things like ChatGPT and you're using it, when they release updates, you have to check that they've not suddenly enabled train with my data, that sort of thing. You need to keep an eye on that and have a way of measuring it or checking it. So your AI prompt could become evidence in court. Now, Reuters has an article which clearly shows that the court would want to see what was used in the process of generating any information or used in the process of creating or committing any crime. So the prompt becomes important. So who created a prompt? Because a prompt also gives an idea as to the thinking of the person that wrote it. What angle were they going through? Was a lawyer directing the work? Was confidentiality maintained? If you put a prompt into some public random AI, it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't automatically become confidential. They've got access to that information and can be used for anything. And we know that what you put into ChatGPT is stored somewhere else. So those are things you want to be thinking about. And furthermore, the output from AI was that relied upon later to do something. This is what the courts are discussing. So discussing a legal problem with a public chatbot does not automatically make the conversation privileged. That's not to say that they cannot use AI, because they do use AI, but those AIs are ring fenced and protected just for their uses. Now, small prompts as well can lead to or reveal a bigger secret. So let's say an organization, the HR department or head of HR suddenly goes in and they're using a public AI tool, and then first prompt is help explain declining revenue. Then you see another prompt, draft a redundancy announcement. Then you see another prompt, create comms for a restructure. So you start to get an idea if you're an external person that okay, maybe that company is struggling. And worse still is when people copy their entire conversation and paste it somewhere or send it to someone else. They forget that all of the prompts give you a conversation. It's a thread between yourself and AI. And if you copy everything and paste it somewhere, then you've essentially leaked some of the secret information. So the nightmare scenario is where an employee uploads a whole load of PII information, customer names, purchase histories, and you cannot say where that data was being processed. Did that data go to America? Did it go to Ireland? Did it go to somewhere in Europe? Who can access it? Who can delete it? And was it permitted? All of those questions need to have an answer. So certainly the employee is trying to help. They're not trying to breach you, but or cause you to breach, but the policy has failed. So ideally, you do want to have a policy. You should have a policy. So the risk is also what AI is allowed to do. So um, earlier this year, an internal Meta AI recommended some technical guidance to an employee. The employee followed that guidance, but that led to personally sensitive information being made exposed to people that shouldn't have access. So in organizations, especially the larger ones, information is siloed. Information is open up to people who must have access to it, and that's the whole point of GDPR. It's not open to everybody. Now, if you follow AI and AI says, okay, press this button, click that button, and get grant permissions, or suddenly you grant permissions to the whole business, and those people start to see who's committed crimes, who's done this, who personal sensitive information. Those are breaches and should be reported, and that's why Meta raised this. So AI can recommend something; the human has to be the final judge. Great thing to have in place is something really simple for your staff to be able to follow. Green, yes, you can use it, it's safe. Amber, think about it, anonymizing the information. Red is do not under any circumstances put this in AI. Just institute this. Very easy to communicate, very easy to let people know. Right now, you've got organizations that have other labels where they've got confidential, sensitive, all those kind of markers. But a color coded one is so easy to see. You just look at the document right at the top, you can see it says is red. So and then you don't push that. That in and of itself is a good start, and it's some form of a policy. So make safe AI easier than unsafe AI. So people in their personal lives are using ChatGPT to solve multiple problems. They're using ChatGPT to brainstorm. They're using ChatGPT to come up with new ideas, new solutions, and ChatGPT to help them at work. Now, if you're in an organization where people at home can use ChatGPT or you use Claude Code to write their code, but then when they come to the office, they have to type everything out manually, and you're making their lives so difficult, and it's tempting for them to say, okay, let me just connect to my AI at home via the browser and use that to generate the code I'm going to use. It's not unreasonable, but if you make it easy for them to connect to the same tools that they use at home, then the temptation to breach and temptation to copy things into tools that you haven't approved would definitely diminish. So your action plan should be: provide approved AI tools so they know what they can use. Classify data as green, amber, or red. Review training and retention terms. So let them know training in two ways. Obviously, train them in what they should be doing, but AI training. So what does that mean? That's what you need to explain. When you put information somewhere, how does that get used elsewhere? Restrict personal account use. So ideally, anything they need for their work, they should have a corporate account. Anonymize information where possible. Require human approval for sensitive actions. And the last one, record which systems process company data. So which systems are allowed to use to process the company information or any of your internal documents. And before you prompt, just take a step back and ask yourself, am I going to expose an account? Does this information identify someone? Does it reveal a secret, internal secret, corporate secret? Does it create a legal problem? Am I using an approved system? 5 top of the mind questions. Just give it to your staff and they should look at those before they put anything into AI. So these are the sources I've relied on whilst creating this document. If you need access to it, just let me know in the comments. I'll send you the slide. But it is happening. People are breaching their corporate policies and compliance, and are falling foul of what the government has strictly recommended, and it could lead to fines, and the repercussions can be quite significant. So that's it for today. It leads me to say that I am Ua, founder of AutoRead.ai. Right now, we're working with HVAC companies to turn their estimates into book jobs. What does that mean? That means that when HVAC companies send out estimates, they go out, they review a job, and they say, okay, this heating system or a conditioning system needs replacing, or a reinstallation, or it could be a fresh installation. They leave a quote and then leave, or leave an estimate. Now, they haven't got time to chase those estimates, so that's where we come in. And in our case, we actually do anti-AI. We use humans to make the calls and do all the chase ups. And we've got 12 different touch points that we have to follow in order to convert those estimates into book jobs. So we work with HVAC companies. We also work with companies in the charity sector, the hospitality sector to implement custom AI solutions. So if you would like to go through an AI scorecard to work out your level of AI exposure and your level of preparedness for AI, go to the website autore.ai, so AUTORE.ai, and either book a call or you just click on scorecard and suddenly you'll be asked a few questions that you can answer quite easily. So thank you so much and really appreciate it. Don't fall foul of the security guys. So until next time, keep winning.